Razer is known for its many PC gaming peripherals, but they've also dipped into the console space with a few products, one of which is the Razer Raiju. It's a PS4 controller similar to the Xbox One Elite with its extra triggers and better grips. There is a catch though. This controller is currently only available in Sony EMEA markets, which means if you're in the US, you'll have to import it. It also carries a hefty price tag at 150 British pounds, which converts to about 195 US dollars. However, the Raiju is actually a significant upgrade from the standard DualShock 4. But before we get into what it has to offer, be sure to subscribe to our channel and check out our review of Scuf Gaming's PS4 controllers. Now, let's get into what it has to offer and break down the pros and cons of the Razer Raiju. The Raiju's body is bulkier than the DualShock 4, but this can be an upside. It's suitable for users who have bigger hands and want more to hold onto. The Raiju itself weighs about 10 ounces. For reference, the DualShock 4 weighs 7.4 ounces. This controller only works through a wired connection, and there is no wireless option. Its USB port has notches around it, and it only fits the packaged USB cable. A cable with low-profile housing can fit here, but if you happen to misplace the cable, you'd be out of luck. The face buttons feel just like mouse clicks. While this takes some getting used to, the distinct tactile feedback and short travel distance make X, square, circle, and triangle much more responsive. The extra bumpers on top and extra triggers behind the controller also feel similar to mouse clicks. All 4 buttons have a short throw and tactile feel, and using them is effortless. They're easy to program as well. Simply hold down the leftmost button on the bottom row on the front, press the trigger or bumper you want to map, then the button you want it to act as. The controller will then rumble. If you don't want the extra triggers in the way for certain games, you can remove them with a packaged screwdriver. L1 and R1 have a satisfying click and more surface area compared to the DualShock 4, which makes them much easier to use. Pulling L2 and R2 is smooth and light on the fingers and much more consistent than the DualShock 4 triggers. Trigger stops also shorten the throw and can slightly improve quickness. Another highlight of the Raiju is the fluidity of the analog sticks. Going back to the DualShock 4, the stiffness of the sticks was more apparent, and precise movements were a little bit more difficult. Rubber grips come attached to the sticks, which we recommend keeping on since they prevented our thumbs from slipping. The same type of grip is also wrapped around the controller's handles. The D-pad on the Raiju is stiff, and it takes considerable amount of force to press. We wouldn't recommend using it in games that heavily rely on the D-pad, like fighting games. Injustice 2 and Street Fighter V come to mind. Speaking of games, how well did Raiju's features translate to the heat of battle? Well, like our other reviews, we played through Overwatch, Titanfall 2, Bloodborne, and Horizon Zero Dawn extensively. Titanfall 2 was a joy to play with responsive programmable buttons. Stringing wall runs together and hopping around and being able to look freely all at the same time provided a significant advantage. Landing shots from afar was easier with the fluid analog sticks. Having the option to map character abilities to the extra buttons in Overwatch was extremely helpful. Constantly jumping without having to give up aiming by using the extra triggers helped us stay nimble during firefights. Mapping the ultimate button to another trigger was clutch for offensive characters that require aiming for the ability to be effective. While you wouldn't necessarily buy an expensive controller for single-player games, the Raiju's advantages made Bloodborne and Horizon Zero Dawn more enjoyable. Mapping the dodge action in both games to a trigger allowed us to keep the camera moving while avoiding enemy attacks. Overall, the Raiju sets itself apart from other premium controllers since the extra buttons feel tactile and are easy to press. It's a pleasure to use with its responsive buttons, grippy textures, and fluid analog sticks. As much as I enjoyed using the Razer Raiju, I can only recommend it if you don't mind spending a huge amount of money on a controller or jumping through hoops to get it in the US. You'll also want to pass on it if wireless is a must. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to keep up with GameSpot. Don't forget to check out my review of Scuf Gaming's PS4 controllers and stay tuned for my review of the Nacon Revolution controller. Thanks for watching.